Welcome to the Friday at 4 podcast series with your host Charles Luttrell and co-host Steve Kent.
Steve, welcome back to the Friday at 4. How are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you, Chuck?
It's been a wonderful week,
Good.
wonderful Friday. We will definitely catch up after the podcast as we usually do.
Yep. Yep, we will.
Absolutely. Well, let's go ahead and get started. In essence of time here, we got the 40-minute time limit here. So let's go ahead and get this thing kicked off. We'll talk about our guest to come on our show for us today. But the topic, let's go ahead and get started with this topic. I like it.
Okay. So the topic is, drum roll, please.
Drum roll, please.
Mm-hmm. So the topic really, go ahead. I'll let you do this.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, go for it. I usually say it, but let's let you do it this time. Go for
All right,
it.
so we're shaking it up here, starting off the right
Yeah,
way.
shake
Okay.
up a little bit.
So what we kind of thought of is on a daily, if not minute by minute basis, constantly, we get bombarded with all kinds of information, social media, which is wide open, news, people talking, politics, which I don't want to even breach that subject because that'll go off on a deep end.
Yeah,
Um,
no,
but we get
no,
hit
no
with stuff.
politics.
We're not going there, but we
We're
get
not
hit
going there.
all day long with so much stuff. So here's the question. How do we know whatever we're hearing and reading, is it accurate? Is it exaggerated? Is it the full truth? Is there any truth to it? How do we know that?
Yeah.
And I just said, you know what? Chuck, what do you think about this? He said, yeah. And now we're putting it out here. Nathan, as we get into this, we're definitely going to need your opinions on this. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where do we go with this? How do we know? So so I'll give you my quick one and then we'll open it up. So every day I post a really short um, LinkedIn, actually two, LinkedIn, Instagram, and then I think Instagram feeds Facebook, if I'm not mistaken. So that's what I put out every day. Now I'm putting out generic stuff about how to plan for retirement, how to plan for your future financially, how to do, but it's how to plan for. I'm not saying to you, hey, did you hear about Joe Smith down the block that he smashed his car? First of all, I'm sorry for Joe Smith, but that's not what I want to hear. I don't know if it's true. Is it there to get ratings? I don't know. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about today is what do we hear or read? Is it real? Is it fake? So what do you think?
It's one of the things that I think, and you opening up this episode and talking about that, I think it has a lot of clout to it, right? Because there's so much information that's thrown at everybody. And you got these algorithms between TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. That's, as soon as you look at something, you're going to get 5,000 posts that are really tied to what you thought you wanted to see. And, there's so much of it that so many people are making things up, especially TikTok. You see a lot of it on TikTok to where people will just make things up. It's not true,
Mhm.
and then you got AI. You can throw that into the mix, with all this AI stuff. And I think it's wild as the more I dig into posting my stuff and my content, as I'm viewing things, the stuff that I get on the other side that's really wild, some of the stuff that it's not real, So Nathan, let's throw it over to you. Tell the audience a little bit more about who you are and give us your input on what you think about this topic today. What's real and what's not?
Yeah, I love that topic. It comes up every day. So just a little bit about me. My name is Nathan. I work with Devour Now, and we're in the online space a lot. So what we do is online pickup and delivery for businesses. And something I'll get into in a little more detail, kind of to tell what's real and fake. Our service is only 3.5% per order. Other third parties, they're charging anywhere from 25 to 35% per order. So we're just trying to make it affordable for businesses, restaurants, anyone that sells a product to get their goods delivered to someone at an affordable price so that they can actually be found online, be seen online, and to our point today, have real things being said about what's real and what's fake. So, I always take things online with a grain of salt when I can. Sometimes I'm just scrolling and you'll see, fun videos. Somebody's playing basketball or open up packs of baseball cards, this, that, the other. It's kind of hard to fake that. I mean, it can happen,
Mm.
but things like that. I'm like, okay, this is really cool. Some guy hit an autographed card, or somebody made a
Mm.
half court shot. But other things I see, like headlines, news, this, that, the other, I always have to take a second look, and I'm like, well, did this actually happen? Like on Facebook, there's this thing. This was probably sometime late last year. I see a post and it said like a voice actor for some cartoon show, like multiple different cartoons and stuff, had passed away. And I was like, oh man, like I really like those shows. Come to
Right.
find out when I look it up, he's still alive, he's healthy, he's fine. So,
It's alive and
Facebook,
well.
yeah, he's alive and well.
Right.
So Facebook, I love it, but like all the groups I'm a part of for either business or personal or for where I live, in the local area, sometimes people just post things just to get a reaction, to get comments. They're probably monetizing. And I'm like, okay, I mean, if you're going to make some money, maybe don't give people a heart attack over it, with all this fake information. But, and kind of coming back to what I do in my space and my, communities and area, you'll see a lot of ads for digital technology companies. And, let's say a third party platform, they deliver burgers on a very easy, low kind of description. But at the end of the day, we're a digital technology company. We do marketing, all this stuff, just like other third parties. But, I've seen a lot of misleading ads from, these larger third party platforms. And, I won't name any names just, for many obvious reasons. But when I see they're like, oh yeah, 0% commission orders. When you click on the link, you're filling out your information. Then they tell you it's a 30-day free trial, and then it goes up to 30%. And if you actually want them to help you with their version of marketing or lower costs for certain things or like priority support, you kind of have to pay the 30% because they do have like a 20, 25, and 30 for the most part. And some platforms are different. I'm talking about like the larger ones that we all know and everyone has, seen ads for on like the Super Bowl and sporting events and all that. But when I see that, I'm like, yeah, when I see an ad for them again, I'm going to be like, well, is this actually true? You're going to say free pickup and delivery, 0%. Then you click on it for 30 days.
But
But
isn't
how?
isn't
Mhm.
isn't that kind of deceptive advertising that they
Yeah.
Really?
string you along, and then they
Hmm.
hit you at the end? Most
Yep.
people are going to say okay, and they continue with it, which to me is deceptive.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah, it,
and
it
once you
really
put your
is.
credit card in, they've got it, and they
Yeah,
can
right. They
use
got your
it. And
information.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
It's either like right before you enter the card info or like
Yeah.
as you have a discovery call with them, because usually they'll follow up with a call. They'll say, hey, somebody from our team's going to get back to you. So, it's not like you've been processing for a month, then you're hit with a
Mhm.
bill for 30% per order or it's
Yeah.
taken out. So it's like still I find it to be a little deceptive, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of
Yeah,
like
right.
what's going on?
Yeah. See, when it comes to like something like this, to me,
Hmm.
and again, my view of the world,
Hmm.
they're collecting the data
Yep.
because the data, and you would know this, I'm sure, more than me based on what you do, the data is so valuable because it's current. It's
Yep.
a name, it's an address, maybe it's a credit card, maybe it's a phone number. That information is so valuable to be sold over and over and over. That's where a lot of that comes from. But if
Oh,
you go a
absolutely.
different, now, so I'm going to go slightly different route. And it goes back to like the Facebook ad you said, somebody died.
Hmm.
They didn't, but
Yeah.
it's the sensationalism. So I live in New York, and there is a paper here, and I think it's still around, called the Post, the New York Post.
Hmm.
Years ago, I mean, it's still a good paper and everything else. I'm not knocking the Post at all. but
Mhm.
part of their, was it California? Maybe it was California a whole bunch of years ago. Some headline on a paper was something about like Big Mac attack or somebody dies.
Oh
And it
wow.
was all a scam to get people to go in because it was somebody in a restaurant that ordered a burger.
Hmm.
And they just blew it up. Sensationalism sells.
Yeah, it does. It
And
does.
but it's got nothing to do with reality.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So again, comes back to the question. How do
right.
you know what's real, what's not? You know,
Yeah.
Chuck goes into a place to do his business where he checks them out, makes sure they're okay, tells them, what they can do better, which is the whole idea about the Q.A.C. team and everything he does.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
then the restaurant could get, let's say, a bogus rating, a bogus review.
Hmm.
Chuck does his research and says, no, that's bogus. That's from one of your competitors. Ignore it. But what if you don't have a Chuck? And now
Hmm.
you look at these and you say, I like the restaurant, but all of a sudden I see these 4 reviews and I'm not going back when it's not real. So the restaurant loses. So again, what do you believe? What don't you believe?
Yeah, right. I think what's interesting is like, you know, how people take that news, right? A lot of people are gullible when they first see things like
Mhm.
Nathan talked about, with that, oh no, so and so died. We go, oh my gosh, so sorry. And everybody start posting about it until you
Mhm.
realize, oh, it's just rage bait.
Yep.
Right. And then, next thing you know, everybody's like, well, dang, they got me, So I would love to hear your spin, Steve, on this because in your line of work, there cannot be any, you can't advertise like that because if you do any kind of false advertising in your industry, man, you're going to be kicked out. You'll probably lose your license and you will never practice again because it's
Yeah.
such a serious industry.
Yep.
And I would be curious to know, do you see this in the industry and how do you combat that, right? Because I've never seen it. I've always just seen straight up ads for life insurance and, Medicaid, Medicare, all this different stuff about, how to help people in their finances. But I've never really caught rage bait or any kind of sensationalism.
Well, there are very strict rules in the financial world of what you can and cannot do, can and cannot say. I'm on the life and health side, so I can help again with the life, the retirement, that stuff. I am not securities licensed. So the other day, I was in a conversation with someone. I'll make this quick. I was in a conversation the other day with someone, and they said to me, what do you think about the market? Where should I put my retirement funds? And my first comment, I'm not securities licensed. I cannot talk about this. I can only say to you, I can offer you, let's say, this side, not this side. If you want more, I can refer you to somebody else. If I suggest something to you and you act on it and take loss, they're coming after me.
Yeah.
So the rules are very strict. And far and away, most people do abide by it. But when you find people that don't, they will pull your license, they could fine you, and you could go to jail. And quite frankly, that's the way it should be because you're dealing with somebody's money. Does the term Bernie Madoff mean anything? Okay, with
Ah,
his scams. But
Yep.
that's the type of stuff that comes with it. If you're not regulated, you're going to ruin a person's financial future for them, their family, their kids, just for generations. So, yeah, it's very important that you stay on target 100% of the time.
yes. So Nathan, since our businesses kind of parallel each other, we've talked about this before because
Mhm.
Steve, Nathan and I met at a networking group.
Oh,
And he didn't realize it the other day when we met. We were in our travels, and he's like, "Hey, do you remember me?" He's like, "Oh, wait, yeah, I do remember you." So, it's so to tie it back to that, what are you seeing in the restaurant side? Because I know I follow this guy on Instagram who he owns a pizza shop. He's very boisterous about influencers and foodies coming into these businesses now and
Mhm.
really in these businesses, which I think is kind of interesting. And I've been commenting and posting and helping because I'm not an influencer, I'm not a foodie. I'm more on the analytical side to where I give you the data, and
Mhm.
that's kind of what we do together. So give me your quick intake on what you think about that. What are you seeing over there?
Yeah, I mean, the restaurant industry is a entirely different ecosystem, I would say, from like any other industry service. Like, you have contractors, they can all play off of each other's products and services. Like, you have somebody that lays the concrete, you refer out, you have somebody that pressure washes the concrete. You have all this random, like not random, but like important stuff there. In restaurants, it's hard because you're kind of, in a sense, I hate to say the word fighting, but you're kind of fighting against everyone else out there because you want your sales to go up, you want your profit margins to be better, you want your food to taste better, or to have a new kind of niche or theme or like anything really. So you're trying to do everything you can. And then, back to the topic, sometimes you might get scammed, or you might get wool pulled over your eyes. You might have something happen, and it could set you back. And just like in the securities and exchange and financial world, that can be catastrophic. So, in the restaurants, what I try to do when I go in there is I'm trying to look for the pain points. If I see they have an outdated point of sale system, I have a contact to, get them a new point of sale system, less SaaS fees every month, less processing cost. If I see they're using like five different third party platforms, like the three big ones and then a couple other smaller outfits, I'll talk to them on that. And as with anything, it's sales to an extent. I mean, I'm not really selling anything because our product is charged for like per order after your setup. There's like no setup costs, no commissions, contract subscriptions, anything like that. So, I try to frame it to them in a way that they'll understand like, okay, this is a risk-free thing. Let's see if it moves the dial or brings in either more orders or more profitable orders. That's something we really try to hit on.
That's
And
very
so
smart. That's a smart goal. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and like some of the clients, there's one local to Harford County. They started sometime like late last year. I think it was either September or October, either month. And they're up to over like 400 orders on our system, and mostly high dollar orders, like 60 plus, or like anywhere from 50 to $200 if it's like a family of six eating there. And prices are great there at this place, but people see same in-house menu prices. So it's, again, what to believe online. I mean, like we only post the same in-house menu prices because our 3.5% is pennies on the dollar. So every client we have, they're like, yeah, I'm not going to be losing, 30, 40, $50 per order from this restaurant service provider. I'm only going to, $100 order, you're taking home 96.50, which is unheard of these days, for ordering.
Yeah.
Um, and even the ones that say 0% commission, some of their $400 or $500 just to maintain your contract with them. And it's like, so kind of what's real, what's not. A lot of research goes into every product, service, system, procedure, even, So, if I'm
It's
going
an
out,
ongoing thing, right? It's an ongoing process because the more
yeah,
people, the more restaurants, the more businesses that come into it,
hmm
it's a process that makes you keep on top of these people who are, posting this negativity or this incorrect information to
yeah,
really keep us out of it, right, Steve? To say, hey, this is not real, but we had to fight through that to say, hey, this is what's real. That's not
mhm.
real.
So
You know?
when you
Exactly.
get,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
yeah, when you get to the food side, I'll give you a quick example of people not keeping up and misleading. There
hmm
was a local restaurant last month, 2 months ago, and I went online and I went to order.
hmm
And then I said, 10-minute walk from me. I needed the exercise. So I said, I'll go and I'll pick it up. And I get down there and the price was like 15, 20% more. And I
Jeez.
said, why?
Right.
And he
Right.
pulls out the menu, the
Mhm.
physical menu.
hmm
And I said, it's nice, but this is what your online menu says. And they were not the same. And we
Not the
had an
same.
argument. And I said, by law, you have to charge me what's on the online because that's what I ordered from.
Yeah.
And we had a whole argument. And I walked out and I left the order there because I
Yeah.
would not
Don't
pay
blame
for it.
you. Yeah. Don't
Understood.
blame you.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, the best way to tell, and this might just be like a little bit of a fact, kind of just to throw in there. Best way to tell if somebody's raising their prices online, I've never been to a restaurant in my entire life where the price ends with like, like let's say 1997 or
Hmm.
2164 or like, $15.05. It's always like it usually ends in 0.00, point five
Right,
zero, or
right,
99,
right,
So
right.
99, right?
yeah,
Yep.
99 is like the main one at restaurants for the most part, unless it's, higher end, they'll
Hmm.
just say like 74 for like a porterhouse or a fillet or something. But
Right.
um, I see that and I'm like, well, I'd rather just go in there, order it, or call them over the phone. But, again, kind of tying back the product I offer to restaurants, you don't have to do that anymore. 3.5% is nothing compared to 35%.
Right,
So
right, right.
when
You
I get
got it.
down to a restaurant, it's insane. And I'm like, this is $12. I just paid $16 for it. That's a considerable difference.
Yeah, yeah,
And you
yeah.
do that over and over again, right? Yeah, definitely.
Right.
It'll catch up to your pocket, right? And Steve,
Well,
just to have a quick funny real fast. So, and for our audience, Nathan is not in California by the Golden Gate Bridge, hanging off of a cliff, swinging by a rope.
Just the background.
so
Just the
so
background.
I so quick 10-second side note. I had that background. I live in New York City. I had
Oh,
that background.
yeah.
Somebody said to me, "Wow, how far are you from the bridge?" And I said, not exactly too close.
Eight-
About 2,500 miles.
1,865
Not
miles.
exactly close. Okay.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
1,873 miles to be
Yeah, right,
exact.
exactly.
Oh
Okay.
my God.
Right.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Oh
Yeah.
Yeah.
man.
I would have thrown it in there because I see Nathan, I see you moving your camera a little bit like that. And it's cool because it's giving that effect as if you're like swinging on the cliff by the
Swinging that,
bridge.
yeah.
I
Got to
love
keep
it.
it fun.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what this
Yeah.
podcast is all about.
Got to keep
We
people
like to
guessing.
talk about good topics to help people and help businesses, but we also like to have fun, because
Yeah.
it's Friday at 4. This podcast is every Friday at 4 o'clock, and we love it.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
we
Yeah.
always love to have guests on like you, who join the conversation, who kind of tie into what we talk about. I think today's
Hmm.
topic really,
Mhm.
I think it's a good one because hopefully people that watch this will take a step back when they see a post
Hmm.
now and say, is that really real? Is
Mhm.
that fake? Is that really something that's really happening in the world? Or,
Yes.
it's give you something to think about, right?
So
Yeah.
here comes the challenge. And maybe
Right.
it's
Love
my,
it. Love a
my
challenge.
sarcasm, but here comes the challenge.
Right.
I'm just prefacing it with my sarcasm, okay?
Yeah. Let's hear it.
So you find something, social media somewhere, that just sounds a little bit too good to be true. So you go on the internet and you do a Google search or whatever search you're doing, and you come up with information. So here's the sarcasm. How do you know that what you're getting on the internet is even accurate? Because anybody can put anything up there. There's
Yep.
no requirement, as long as you didn't say I killed somebody, which hopefully you didn't,
Oh,
you can put pretty much anything you want up there. So how
mhm.
do you even know if what you do in
Yeah.
that Google search is even going to come up with accurate information? You
Yeah.
don't.
The
Did you
AI
know?
overview is the AI overview is basically Copilot or Claude or ChatGPT
Right.
on Google now.
Yes.
It's just showing you
Yes.
the AI overview. So then at that point
Yep.
you're like, let me go to the library, get the encyclopedia or something, see if
Yeah.
this matches
So,
true.
so somebody said to me the other day,
Yeah.
because they were doing a ChatGPT search, and it came up with some really ridiculous information. So the next, and again, I'm not an AI person, so I think the term is prompt. So
Mhm.
they
Mhm.
gave it, so I'm learning, right? So they
Yeah.
gave
Yep.
it a prompt and they said, Chat GPT, cite your sources for this information. And
Yeah.
the information that came back was completely different than the
Oh
Let
gosh.
first
me
set
cut
of data
in.
that came back. Because the
Let
first
me
one was
cut
just
in
made
real
up.
fast. Right. Let me cut in real fast. So if you notice when you use any kind of AI, it
Hmm.
will tell you that you have to do your research because it
Hmm.
may not be accurate. And
Right.
Yep.
that's when every time you do a search, right, it'll tell you
Hmm.
you got to go back and look at the
Yeah.
resources because it may not be accurate. And I like that you tell it to cite its resources because then
Yeah.
that's when you will know where it's coming from. And I
Hmm.
noticed if you do a lot of prompting and you ask it certain things, it will give you at the end of your paragraphs, it'll
Hmm.
give you the link where it got it from. So you can click on it to
Hmm.
verify if
Okay.
that website is accurate
Okay.
as well.
Okay.
So that's
Mhm.
one thing I've learned that in
Yeah.
my limited, use now of AI, I don't have to worry about that problem because I don't use it for getting that kind of information no more. I'm starting to back away from AI. But yeah, that's a perfect example of what our conversation is today. Is
Hmm.
absolutely, is it accurate? Is it real? You
One of
know?
my friends is an attorney, and he went to court to defend his client. The prosecutor comes along and says to the judge, and I might have told you the story before. The prosecutor comes to the judge with three cases, and he says to the judge, "Here," and he gives the copy to my friend. My friend says, "Your Honor, I've been practicing for 30 years. I've never heard of these cases." And when the judge pressed, the other attorney said, "Oh yeah, I got them from AI." So meanwhile, the other attorney, they pulled his license. He can no longer practice anywhere. And the client, of course, was released because he was innocent. But so there's a point. Give me your source, cite it, make it at least more reliable, believable. But how do you know? Again, we're back to this thing. How do you know?
Hmm.
How do you know? Absolutely. You know, again, right, this speaks volumes to this topic today because all three of us right here in this conversation, I guarantee you, all three of us will dig into our resources and make sure what we're dealing with is true and accurate. We will not post or talk about things that are pulled from an AI or pulled from a source that we don't, especially the onion, that we don't think is credible, you know?
Hmm.
When people rely on you and the information you provide to make a decision, they're going to come back at you, especially on the finance side, especially if they go into a restaurant and they get sick. When you said the restaurant was good, the food was good, it's got an A rating, and all that stuff, and somebody gets sick and finds out they weren't exactly as good as they were made up to be, but they relied on your recommendation, you could be in trouble. So that's
Super,
why, to
super
Chuck's
trouble.
point, you got to
Yeah.
know where your sources are. You got to be honest.
Yeah.
Based on my personal experience, this restaurant is good because I've been there 4 times or whatever.
Hmm.
You got to do
Yeah.
that.
Absolutely. I mean, we have a new product and it's called like Restaurant Rank because
Mm,
on Google, and I'll get into what that is really quickly here. On Google, you search something and you want something and like, you know, everything shows up all at once and you never know like what to do, what to think anymore, I guess, because the online world is just like there's a ton of information out there. We use AI, for our advantage, for good, for the
mm,
good of the restaurant. We're here to help restaurants, not
mm,
help ourselves with anything really. We just want to provide our knowledge. And what we're doing now is we build our websites with this 120 data point metric checklist so that we make sure their information is updated in all the listings, directories online, how they show up on the AI overview, this, that, the other. And like we're talking with real people. We're talking with the owners of the business. They know what their business is, and more times than not, they're going to want to tell the truth about that. They're going to say like, "Hey, here's our menu, here's our pricing. We have live music on this day." I wouldn't think of any reason really for a restaurant to say, "Oh, we're going to give away $1,000 if you come in the door today." It's like, no, they tell us, their information, and we use that to the advantage of AI, making sure that we, or I guess really the restaurant is accurately represented online with, our data points set. We do monthly audits on that. And, it's kind of helping to the point of the question today, what is true and what's not, what's, real versus fake. Cause, I mean, with, I forget what the name of that software was. I don't know if it got banned or not yet, but like you could make videos of literally anything with AI, and it got out of hand at one point, and it was like, yeah, we're here to kind of avoid that. We're here to make sure people understand when you search online, we want the accurate information to show up, and that people can make the informed decision about where they're going to eat, what they're going to do, if it's a product based instead of a restaurant based. If somebody sells something, art, let's say,
mm.
we're going to make sure it's all the accurate information, because we don't want negative reviews to come in because they're not reviewing, us, they're reviewing the restaurant. And that really hurts, because a couple jobs ago, I helped run a restaurant group, and bad reviews would come in all the time, and it was up to me and the team to say, well, hey, we don't really think this happened. We'd reach out to them if we had contact info, offer a coupon or a discount, or say next meal's on us, this and that. So exactly to the point with the bad reviews, it's like you never know what's going on.
Right, yeah, Chuck's got
And
the
guess
same
what?
thing.
You do
Go ahead,
know what's
Chuck.
going on when the restaurant uses my service, because I give you the
Absolutely.
truth.
Yeah,
I give you the
100%.
truth, man. Exactly. That's why I do what I do.
And I
That's
love that.
right.
What you do is great, honestly. It is very helpful and beneficial to all parties involved because, like, as the customer, I'm going to read those reviews and say, well, hey, like, what's going on? But then if your service is implemented there, you're like, okay, now I can kind of cut through anything that might not be the most truthful and then find out here's what actually happened.
Yep. Not only that, how do you compare to your competitors and how do you have the edge? That's what I'm working on now. The big thing in this upcoming episode, I'm talking about how does each business have the edge over the other? It's a wild thing that I came across. I love it. I can't wait to get it in my next episode. It's great.
That sounds like a good one. Oh my gosh. I might have to sign up
It's
again.
definitely good. Yeah, I'm getting it together now. This episode's a little different than anyone I've done before. It's a multi-part episode. I'm doing produce. I'm comparing a chain to local produce stands. But the challenge I ran into was that I didn't realize, because I never bought produce from local markets. I've always did chain grocery stores. I didn't know about produce comes in different months of different times. So I'm dealing with that now.
I hear that.
I never knew.
News to
Well,
me.
obstacle, but you could overcome that, Yeah.
Right. Yeah. What a great episode, right?
Yeah,
what a great episode, right? What a great topic. I think this.
I love it.
Yeah, I think every episode we do, Nathan, we could always do another episode on, because we always find so many things to talk about, and this is just another one that we could continue on, but we're out of time, and that's one of the things that I hate about this. It goes by so fast. We get to talking,
I
next thing you
know.
know, boom, it's gone,
There was one more thing I wanted to touch on, kind of in the whole AI world.
1 minute.
One of the funniest things I see on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok is the AI generated flyers. And I have a lot of friends that are graphic designers, and I use like Canva if I need to make a flyer for something. And there's a lot of tools on there, and even those graphic design like websites, let's say, use AI and this. Some of them look so hilarious because there are multiple spelling errors. The text has been like merged and condensed, like it's all flowing into each other. And I'm like, this is why we have graphic designers, and why you can't always rely on AI to have like a perfect image of what's in your head, because sometimes just sketching it out,
Yep, you got it.
All right, Chuck,
Steve.
back to you.
Yeah, it's hey, it's
home.
that time. It's that time of the podcast here at the end.
Bring us home.
The Friday at 4, because
it's 4 o'clock somewhere.
Absolutely.
That's our classic
Nathan,
line.
I really appreciate you coming on and talking with us. I would love to invite you back on another episode anytime you want. You got the link. Come on in. You don't have to ask me. If you want to ask me what the topic's going to be, that's great. Ahead of time. Yeah, but
awesome.
We're here every Friday, 4 o'clock. We record. We love what we do. And you're more than welcome anytime. Steve.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
No problem, man.
Thank you, Nathan.
Of course.
Thank you, Chuck.
Yeah.
Pleasure as always.
Guys. Yeah. I can't wait to see comments and people who talk about this episode. I'm really interested to see what their thoughts are on what they think is real and fake and what they've come across. So I'll put that in the comments section. Really, I like to see people talk about, what you come across on the internet and social media and et cetera of what you're seeing that's not real, or you questioning a lot of things that you're seeing, right?
Be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we'd love to hear it.
I hear that. Yeah.
Yep. Guys, enjoy the rest of the Friday. Have a great weekend, and we'll chat soon.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. A lot of fun.
Have a great weekend,
Steve.
Thanks.
Take care, Steve.
Take care, guys. Thank you. Bye.
You got it. Bye.
You've been watching the Friday at 4 podcast series with your host Charles Luttrell and co-host Steve Kent. Thanks for watching.